Chef's kitchen, vaulted ceilings. It's a spectacular property.
I guess.
Look, this house is perfect.
We're just not feeling it, you know?
Guess I'll keep hunting. Mind if we stop at the BMO down the street?
There's a BMO down the street?
Why didn't you say so?
I didn't think it was a big deal.
It's a huge deal. BMO customers have access to 40,000 fee-free ATMs nationwide.
That's more than the 2 largest U.S. banks combined.
So you'll take the house?
We'd like to see the BMO first.
BMO.
Accounts are subject to approval and are provided in the United States by BMO Bank and a member FDIC.
For years, Cindy James had been plagued by disturbing phone calls. The same chilling voice, the same diabolical threats, the same feeling that somewhere, just out of sight, someone was watching. And every time, the call would end the same way, abruptly, leaving only the sound of her own breathing. Cindy had been living in terror for nearly 7 years. She was stalked, harassed, and if she was to be believed, physically attacked by an unknown tormentor. Police investigated, but the incidents kept escalating until one day, Cindy vanished. 2 weeks later, her body was found, and the way she was discovered made her case one of the most baffling mysteries in modern true crime history. I'm Sarah Powell, and this is Obscurata, because some stories have no ending. Cindy James was born in 1944 in British Columbia, Canada, into a strict but loving household. Her father was a military man, and discipline was a core part of her upbringing. She excelled in academics and pursued a career in nursing. Those who knew Cindy described her as warm, kind, and compassionate, someone who naturally gravitated toward helping others. She married Dr. Roy Makepeace, a well-respected psychiatrist, when she was in her mid-20s. At first their marriage seemed stable, but over time, cracks began to appear. Makepeace was 18 years older than Cindy, and their relationship gradually became strained. She confided in friends that he was controlling, and though there was no direct evidence of abuse, those closest to her felt she was trapped in a relationship where she felt powerless. In 1982, after nearly 16 years of marriage, Cindy made a bold move. She left him. Friends and family believed she was finally taking control of her life. But shortly after the divorce was finalised, something changed. That autumn, Cindy told friends and family that someone had been prowling around her house. Then in October, the phone calls began. On October the 11th, Cindy picked up the receiver. At first, it was just silence, then slow, deliberate breathing. The next day, a voice, low, rasping, dripping with menace. "I'll get you one night, Cindy." Cindy reported the calls to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. An officer advised her to keep track of them, document every chilling word. They suggested she get an unlisted number, but that same night, another call came through. "You bitch, I'll get you." Then, on October the 13th, The threats escalated. So you think calling the police will keep you safe? You wait. I've got my zipper. Cindy hung up before he could finish. But it wasn't just the calls. 2 days later, she heard someone outside of her home. By morning, her porch lights were shattered. Then, on October the 15th, a rock was hurled through her window. She was sure that someone had entered her house, though nothing was missing. Days later, on October the 19th, another break-in. But this time, whoever it was had gone straight to her bedroom and slashed open one of her pillows. It was a silent, deliberate message. The police had their suspicions. Constable Patrick McBride, with the Vancouver RCMP, believed Cindy's estranged husband, Roy Makepeace, was behind it. But Makepeace denied everything. Cindy, too, seemed conflicted. She told the police she didn't think he was capable of it, but in private, she confided in friends about his violent outbursts during their marriage. Then came McBride. Cindy and the officer grew close, and by October the 31st, he'd moved in with her, ostensibly for 2 weeks, to keep watch in case the caller or intruder struck again. But soon after, McBride found Makepeace in a parked car behind the house. When questioned, he claimed he was there to catch the stalker himself. He left after McBride made it very clear he was staying with Cindy. Then, another call. But this time, it wasn't Cindy who answered. It was McBride. The line was silent, but in the background, McBride could hear something. A woman's voice over a public address system. The kind you'd hear in an airport. The call was later traced to a Vancouver suburb, but the trail went cold. And then came the notes. One pinned to Cindy's windshield, an image of a corpse under a medical sheet. Another, just after Thanksgiving, left outside her home. Attached was a picture of a woman, her throat slashed, the ink blood red. Whoever was tormenting Cindy wasn't stopping, and by now they wanted her to know that no one, not the police, not her new boyfriend, not even her ex-husband, could keep her safe. On the night of January the 27th, 1983, Cindy's friend and co-worker, Agnes Woodcock, arrived at her house. But something was wrong. She found Cindy lying in the backyard, unconscious, a nylon stocking wrapped tightly around her throat. When Cindy came to, she told Agnes what had happened. She'd been walking to a garage when someone grabbed her from behind. There were 2 of them, she said, one waiting inside while the other dragged her in. They didn't just strangle her, they held a knife to her. They violated her. And before they left, they whispered a warning. Tell anyone, and your sister is next. At the hospital, doctors found no concrete evidence of sexual assault. Detective David Bowyer-Smith wasn't sure what to believe. The police urged Cindy to see a psychiatrist, but she refused. She was afraid of what it would mean, afraid of being dismissed. Instead, she agreed to meet with a general practitioner, someone with experience in counselling. Then came another message, a collage cut and pasted like a ransom note, a woman's hands clamped around her own throat. a knife hovering beside her, a body bag, and in the corner, scrawled in jagged handwriting, "I see you." Cindy couldn't stay. On February the 1st, 1983, she packed up and moved to West Vancouver. She hoped distance would shake off whoever was watching her. It didn't. Less than a week later, another letter arrived. "Run, rabbit, run. I'll show you how fucking good I am. Soon, bang bang, you're dead." The phone calls followed her, the obscene whispers, the heavy breathing. No matter where she moved, the terror clung to her like a shadow. That summer, Cindy's ex-husband, Roy Makepeace, reached out again. He showered her with expensive gifts, paying for her to visit her brother, Roger, in Indonesia. She was gone for weeks, and when she returned, there was another note waiting for her. "Welcome back, death, blood, hate." She repainted her car, hoping a different colour would make her harder to track. She hired a private investigator, Ozzy Caban, to watch her back. And for the next 6 years, she kept him on retainer, paying him to dig deeper into the darkness that was creeping ever closer. She carried a panic button, pepper spray, a small container of oil, to throw in an attacker's face if she had to. But none of it stopped what happened next. Between October and November of 1983, Cindy made a gruesome discovery in her garden. 3 cats, strangled, their bodies bound with rope. She kept a diary, and in its pages, she scrawled her suspicions. The calls didn't stop. Sometimes they were silent, other times breathless, waiting. Her co-workers at Blenheim House started receiving the calls too, their voices shaking when they relayed what they'd heard. Nothing, just someone listening. January the 30th, 1984. Private investigator Ozzy Caban had given Cindy a 2-way radio, a lifeline. That night, he heard something strange. He drove straight to Cindy's home and found her collapsed on the living room floor. A carving knife was driven through her hand, pinning a note to the floor beneath it. Letters cut from a magazine. "Now you must die." She was still alive, barely. At the hospital, Cindy told Caban what she remembered. A man at her gate, the rush of footsteps, the blow to the head. She said she felt them hold her down, push a hypodermic needle into her arm. Doctors confirmed there was a needle mark. When they ran tests, there were no traces of drugs in her system. Then there was the blood. Constable Kayo Ikoma, one of the officers on scene, noticed something odd. Blood smeared across the kitchen floor, not splattered, but dragged in circles, as if someone had tried to clean it up. As Cindy recovered, the police turned their attention to Roy Makepeace. Cindy had been saying it for months. She now believed he was behind it. But when questioned, Makepeace had his own theory. The mafia. They're after Cindy. It's connected to her work at Blenheim House. The police are looking in all the wrong places. Her father Otto wasn't buying it. That March, he met Makepeace at a donut shop in Vancouver, secretly wearing a police wire. Otto told him plainly to stay away from Cindy. Makepeace didn't listen. Instead, he sent Otto a 6-page letter detailing all of his theories, claiming Cindy was being hunted. Powerful men were involved. By June, the terror reached a fever pitch. On the 18th, Cindy called Caban in a panic. When he arrived, he found her huddled outside in the garden, shaking. She told him someone was inside the house. When he searched, he found a note. "Happy birthday," scrawled beside it. Sexually explicit photos. And in the basement, he found Heidi. The dog was trembling, cowering in a corner. The rope tied around her looked eerily familiar, the same kind that had been used on the dead cats Cindy had discovered months before. She had been abused, possibly strangled. Caban had his doubts about Cindy's claims, but looking at Heidi, he knew one thing for certain. Cindy didn't do this. Then more calls, more threats. Caban answered one himself while Cindy was at work. Later, he found another dead cat left on the stairwell of her house. On July the 1st, Cindy claimed 2 men arrived at her door, posing as police officers. When she reached for her radio, they bolted. More obscene calls followed. One caller whispered, "You're dead, bitch. It's gonna feel good." Another call came through to a co-worker at Blenheim House. "Get rid of the big pig." Then, on the night of July the 9th, Cindy's mother, Tilly, stayed over. In the early hours, Heidi started barking. Cindy was awake, checking the doors, the windows. Then, someone rang the doorbell. When they checked the front porch, they found a window nearby, cracked. Whatever Cindy had been afraid of for the past 2 years, it wasn't going away. The morning after Cindy's mother stayed over, everything looked the same. The doors were still locked, the house was still standing, the windows mostly intact. Mostly. A single cracked window near the porch, no footprints, no sign of who had been there. Nothing Cindy could show the police. Just another unexplained event in a long line of unexplained events. She called the police. Again. And just like every other time before, they weren't sure what to believe. 2 weeks later, another attack. On July 23rd, Cindy was walking Heidi through Dunbar Park when a man pulled up in a green van. He had a beard. There was a woman with him. Cindy said they grabbed her, assaulted her. Hours later, just after midnight, she was found wandering in a daze, trying to enter a neighbour's home. Around her neck, a dark grey nylon stocking cinched tight. Caban found Heidi alone, roaming the park. At the hospital, doctors examined Cindy. They found 2 puncture marks in her arm. Someone had injected her with something. Then, as Cindy was being treated, the hospital receptionist received a phone call. A man asking about the hospital's security policies. There was something off about his voice, something that stuck in her memory. Later, when police played her a recording of Roy Makepeace speaking, she hesitated, but said there was a strong possibility it was him. By October, Cindy was under the care of a hypnotherapist. And then, a revelation. She recalled a memory, a murder, a double murder. But she wouldn't say anything more. Even after the attack in July 1984, Cindy's phone would ring. She would answer, but whoever was on the other end never stayed on long enough for the police to trace them. The surveillance on her home led nowhere. No shadowy figures, no signs of movement. Whoever was behind it all seemed to vanish the moment the police turned their gaze. Then, in January 1985, under hypnosis, Cindy told the police something horrifying. She claimed she had witnessed her ex-husband, Roy Makepeace, murder a man and a woman in July 1981. Not just a murder, he dismembered them. She described the cabin on Thormanby Island, how he hacked at their bodies with an axe. She told them how he had smeared blood from a severed limb across her face. But there was a problem. Cindy hadn't been alone on that holiday. Her sister, Melanie, had been with her, and she remembered nothing like that ever happening. Then, 6 months later, everything took another turn. In late June 1985, Cindy attempted suicide. A prescription drug overdose. She was rushed to Vancouver's Lions Gate Hospital and involuntarily committed to the psychiatric ward. Later, she insisted she hadn't meant to die. On July 2nd, she agreed to a wiretap. She called Makepeace, confronted him, accused him. She brought up the memory of the murders, demanding answers. But Makepeace denied everything. He called her insane, claimed she was spinning an enormous revenge fantasy. The police were listening. After that call, they placed Cindy, Makepeace, and 2 other unnamed suspects under 24-hour surveillance for a week. If something was going to happen, this was the time to catch it. Nothing happened. The police followed up on Cindy's claims about the murders. They scoured the Gulf Islands, looking for any record of missing persons, any sign of a crime. Nothing. No bodies, no reports, not even a cabin matching Cindy's description. Makepeace's attorney dismissed it as a wild goose chase. But then, another message arrived. A package. Inside, nothing but a single charcoal-coloured nylon stocking and a note. Blood flowing freely.
This summer, Instacart is bringing back your favorites from 1999 with prices from 1999. That means 90s prices on juice pouches that ought to be respected, 90s prices on box mac and cheese, and 90s prices on ham, cheese, and cracker lunches. Enjoy all those throwbacks and more at throwback prices, only through Instacart. $4.72 maximum discount per $10 of eligible items. Limit 1 offer per order. Expires September 5th while supplies last. Discount based on CPI comparison.
We'll continue with Cindy's really unusual case in the next episode, but that will also be available today. There are so many questions I have about this case. It drives me insane, which is why I wanted to cover this one first in the new podcast. Now, if you're a new listener, I actually do another podcast with my soon-to-be 15-year-old son. That one's called The Whispering Woods. It's slightly different setup, same but different, and it covers scary stories, paranormal happenings, folklore, that kind of thing. So you may be interested in that one too. But I really wanted to do another podcast because a lot of the stories that I come across I'm really interested in, we can't cover it on that podcast because we do make sure that children can listen as well. So I've kind of started collating those stories. And here we have it, Obscurata, the new podcast from the Whispering Woods studio. Also want to give a shout out to Rog as well for fact checking and editing. But stay with us because, as I've said, the second part of this story is available now. And if you like the show, please subscribe and give us a rating. That would be great. Tell your friends, do the things. All of the information about the Whispering Woods is in the podcast links. At this stage, I'm not going to do separate social media and stuff like that, but there will be a separate discussion group on Facebook called Obscurata Discussed. So if you too are a shadow chaser, come and join me there and we can discuss theories. But not till you've heard the second episode. And I'll catch you then.